You're listening to The Donor Doctor Show, where your host, James Newberry, will help you improve the health of your fundraising. Now over to James.
Hello, this is The Donor Doctor, and I have a special treat for you today. I have Eric Rardin, who is with GREY2, which has 40 million online community. Is that correct?
That's right, 40 million members. We broke the 40 million mark about a week ago.
And that makes you the biggest, am I correct?
We consider ourselves the world's largest social network for good. There are larger social networks, but there aren't larger social networks that are dedicated only to working with what we believe are good causes that are going to make the world a better place.
Well, that's very good. Of course, what you do is online, but it kind of stems back in the day from your typical direct mail letter, which offered a petition for people to get involved, or even going back further to give you an idea of what kind of nerd I was as a teenager. When the congressman would send the frank mail with the survey, I would fill it out for my parents. So that kind of person would be interested in a petition. People like being involved, and that's a big part of your success, isn't it?
Yeah, people absolutely want to have opportunities that where they can make a difference and not have to, necessarily climb on top of a building or tie themselves to a tree or block a road or whatever, which I'm not disparaging direct action, but a lot of people say, well, that's not for me, or in order to make a difference, I need to quit my job and go to work in a field like cancer research or something. These petitions give people an opportunity to take a first step on the ladder of engagement, to make a difference on causes that they feel about, and collectively those actions can make a really significant difference.
One of the you have a blog, and I was reading one of them. One issue I feel strongly about is against Greyhound racing. Part of this is I saw Real Sports where they were just killing the dogs if they weren't fast enough. And can you tell a little bit about your success with a Greyhound, a group against Greyhound racing?
Well, so we've been working with GREY2K, and they're GREY2K USA, and they're working to ban Greyhound racing in the U.S. and worldwide. And we recently actually gave them our annual Make a Difference Award because of the success they've had. They recently banned Greyhound racing in Arizona, and we were working with them on a petition just in the last few weeks to ban Greyhound racing in West Virginia. The legislature had passed legislation to ban it, but the governor had to sign it. And so in just a matter of a few days, we got over 60,000 signatures urging the governor to support the bill and to sign it into law. And he did not. I believe it was part of a budget bill. It was part of a larger package of legislation that he...
Oh, so it wasn't like that, was it? Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think... I'm not positive, but I think that he was...
It probably wasn't what he was vetoing.
A larger package, yeah.
Now, you, in addition to, I know you get news stories that generate when you have like 100,000. I think the White House has to respond at a certain point, but you also raise money. Am I correct? Can you talk about some of the successes you've had there?
Well, so we're a source of donor leads, and so there are no transactions that occur on GREY2, but we have recruited tens of millions of people to sign up to hear from charities around the world. We've worked with over 2,000 charities worldwide, and when people sign up for those charities, then the charities engage them through multiple channels: direct mail, email, telephones, to convert them into donors. And so one example is the African Wildlife Foundation did an initial campaign with us about 3 years ago, and they spent $40,000. They made all of that back within 6 months. And I
great.
believe that was online only. Now they're also using other channels. We love direct mail. We love it when the partners we work with reach out to our members that they've recruited in direct mail because our members are multi-channel donors, and we see email and direct mail being really joined at the hip. They are very complementary channels, and both need each other.
Right. Now, where do you find your leads? Do you use banner ads? Do you use emails, from groups? Where do you get your leads?
So, our founder, when we started, we're actually 2 weeks older than Google. So when we started back in 1998, wow. Our founder, he sort of had an idea for a social network before they existed. And the thought was, if you give people things they can do online together, they'll sort of aggregate, and it'll be a self-assembling community. So the first tool that he came up with was electronic greeting cards. And so somebody sends it to someone, and that recipient of the e-card goes back to our site to read the e-card they were sent, and so on. Well, then petitions were really the killer app, if you will, for us. So the way that we grow is as a community. People come, somebody wants to create a petition, they go to Care2, they create a petition, and they ask all their friends to sign it. And when those people sign the petition, we welcome them into our community and try and get them to take other actions and become involved. And we also create a lot of petitions ourselves on issues that are important to Care2 and to members of our staff. So it's very much a word of mouth, viral sort of thing where everyone who creates a petition, by definition, they're going to ask and they're going to work hard to get other people to sign it, and then we're going to work hard to get those people to become lasting members of our community.
If somebody was interested, a charity was interested, I take it that it helps to have something you're upset about, maybe say like puppy mills, for instance. That might be something. How would they go about getting involved?
As an individual, they can go to our petition site, which you can go to care2.com and click on petitions, or you can go to thepetitionsite.com, and anyone can create a petition for free, and it's very easy. And we have guides on what makes a good petition and advice on how to really make your petition successful. For organizations that want to work with Care2 to help win their campaigns and to grow their base of supporters, then they can just contact me and we'll help them through that process.
What would your access, just to help them out? What's your email? It's
ERICR at care2team.com. So Eric R at care2team.com.
Very good. I've used your services, and I used your rival, and I don't mean to denigrate them, but we had more success with Care2. It could be just the clients we picked, but I think it's a great way. A lot of charities I work with are fearful that their donors are too old. Now, I think they overdo that because there's always going to be new old people, but Care2 is a great way to bring younger people into your cause, isn't it? Is it not?
It is, but it's interesting. There's this notion that digital and social networks and so forth are for kids, but actually the most avid users of Facebook in America right now tend to be grandparents looking at pictures of their kids.
Oh no, I agree with you. I probably misstated that. I realize that, but you're still getting like a direct mail list is going to be all over 60, right. Whereas this will have a range of ages.
Absolutely. So the average age of our members is 39. Most of them are women.
Right.
Most of them have college degrees. The reason that we're such a great resource for animal welfare organizations, for instance, is over 90% of our members own pets. So, but that average age, the way that we, if you held up our demographics against a traditional, or like one of today's direct mail donor files, you would see very similar people in terms of age, income, gender, and so forth. Not age, rather, but gender, income, and lots of other things. But you would see about a 20 to 40 year average age gap. And what we say is that our our members are most charities are the daughters of most current charities' direct mail donors. Also, the next generation the next generation of direct mail donors.
Well, I think that the charities that probably works best for are ones that have a vision, have a public policy goals, like your Greyhound. They were trying to, and they were successful at outlawing Greyhound racing in certain states. But I could imagine other causes that might work. Even a museum, for instance, the WASP Museum that I write copy for, is the women pilots of World War II. They were not being able to be buried at Arlington, their ashes. And you could do an online petition for that. There was one done, and it was successful. So there's a lot of application. It's beyond just the animal world. I'm sure you have many other groups too.
Absolutely. We work with there's certain charities whose names we can't use, but we work with national organizations that deal with children's cancer. We work with that where very often it's more, instead of a petition, people are signing pledges or sending a message of support. We worked with Operation Smile, asking our members to send a message of support to kids on one of their missions that were going to be receiving a surgery. It doesn't have to be it was really sweet, really thoughtful, and so it doesn't have to be a petition. That's where we came from, but there are other ways that people can engage, and other ways that we can ask our members to show support. And we, animals, environment are sort of no-brainers for Care 2, but we work in human rights and international relief and health charities from the whole range of organizations. And again, as you said, a petition and a cause where they want to make a policy change, that's sort of really right to the heart of what we do the best and the easiest. But there are lots of different ways that we can work with organizations.
Well, it's interesting. We did an earlier podcast on involvement devices, and of course, a lot of people think it's just petitions, but there's many other kinds. I could see a refugee, for instance, or somebody in prison, being tortured abroad, or something. You could do a card, or there's all sorts of other techniques you could come up with, like you did with the Operation Smile. If you're creative, I imagine there's many other things you could do.
Yeah, we ran a really fun campaign with Christian Blind Mission in Canada, and we ran several different actions, including a petition. But one of the actions was a thank you letter to volunteers that go with CBM overseas to help people that are blind, whether there's if there's a surgery that can be done or providing other sorts of assistance. And so it was just a thank you letter to volunteers, and it worked very well. Our members responded to it, and of all the actions we ran with them, that got the highest donor response in terms of converting to donors.
Oh, I could see that. It's interesting. Well, you could do all sorts of things with a religious group. You could sponsor a Bible. You could do. There's all sorts of, or some other literature. You could. There's just as a. There really, if you think about it, there's many things beyond petitions. Although petitions probably are the majority of your work, I imagine.
For sure, yeah. It's our bread and butter, and. We as an organization, we are very cause-driven and very active ourselves. So lots of different members, we have a campaign team that are creating petitions all the time, but lots of other members of Care 2, of the Care 2 staff, are creating petitions. I've created more this year than I had in many years.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that's sort of in our DNA. And actually a lot of the people that work at Care 2, including myself, used to run campaigns and ended up at Care 2. I used to run environmental campaigns. We've got people that have worked for a whole range. Sorry?
I wonder what's the most signers you ever had on a petition.
So
would it be in the millions?
Yeah. We there was you probably heard of Cecil the lion, a lion that was
did I hear about it?
So yeah, Cecil was a very well liked lion who had a name, and people were quite fond of Cecil, and he was lured out of a wildlife refuge so a hunter could shoot him. And a Care 2 member created a petition on it, and within about 12 hours, it already had 500,000 signatures, and within 2 days, it had ended up around 1.2, 1.3 million. And it was we were pleased that it didn't break our website because the rate of people signing was so high. It was sort of,
I can imagine.
You're like checking all the systems and making sure there's no smoke or steam coming from places it shouldn't.
Now, are you able to segment by age? Because if a charity was more concerned with it, trying to lose less money maybe, or trying to make money, they might want to take 50 plus. Are you able to do that?
We can segment we can segment, target by age, we can target geographically. We have some other sort of demographic targeting we can do, but it's a bit different than like building a direct mail acquisition mailing list where it's really all driven by different selects, because usually those selects are trying to mirror a behavior. Like, we think that people that are this age, this gender, this income, this location care about this issue because that's who's in our donor file. But what we do is actually go to the behavior and say, do you care about this issue? And if they don't sign the petition, then they don't care about the issue, so they can't sign up. But we can overlay other critical, because in some cases, it really needs to be over 50. If it's an organization that deals with specifically providing services to retired individuals and wants them to become members of the organization, then you would need to be 50 plus. And in that case, that's what we do.
I see. Well, Eric, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's interesting. I mean, I have a client that used you and was very happy. She has a vision. She likes people getting involved, and you're changing the laws. We mentioned Greyhound racing, but that's just one of many things that you've. Sometimes just the publicity from one of your petition campaigns can change things. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, and something for charities to consider for sure. So thank you for for being a guest, and until next time on the Donor Doctor Show. Thank you very much. Signing out.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's a pleasure. Bye.